Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the second time.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Patterson?
Present.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. I'd like to move for the adoption of motion 22142 to dispense with reading of the minutes from the August 18th, 2022 regular meeting. Need a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. I'd like to move for the adoption of motion 22143 to approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2022 regular meeting. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. Hey, is this where I switch?
No, the fiscal officer.
Pardon?
The
Department?
fiscal officer and then,
Okay. Fiscal report?
All righty, coming around for you to review and sign are the certifications of checks written and purchase orders since the last meeting. You have 3 sets of reports in front of you, signifying the end of August. The first one is the appropriation status report. And I have notated on there that we're 67% through the year, so that will correspond with those percentages. Also, 2 different management reports. The first is the revenue summary through August 31st, and then the fund summary. A number jumped out at me when I was reviewing the fund summary, and it would appear that our road district fund looks like it's in the hole. I just want to point it out that we have not received the final on the second half settlement for real estate. And I did review it, and it will more than plug that hole. So everything is fine and dandy, but I just wanted to notate that. I do, when I request in advance, we only receive general fund, fire and police. So we don't receive any road dollars in our advance. So I just kind of wanted to make that known in case you're reviewing it. Also, coming around for you to sign and review is the August 31st bank statement. In my excitement to get it done, I neglected to include the August interest, so that will be an addition on the September bank reconciliation, but it's $212, I believe, in interest. It's not a big deal, but I did notate it on the reconciliation, and it will all resolve next month. Moving on. I prepared for you, the 3 trustees, a summary of the draft audit and where we stand as of right now. So for our 2020-2021 audit, it has been completed. I'm just waiting for it to be finalized. Ellen and I sat on Monday and went through all the finer points of it. I will note that the original draft that was dated July 15th included several items that were rather large, moving money from fire to police funds. And after much discussion, the audit firm, I was able to point out to them that one of the final settlements from last year, the auditor had flipped a label, and it was very clear that fire should receive it's the larger revenue stream because it's the larger millage. And after they went back and reviewed several years worth of settlement reports, they concluded that it was just an error on the auditor's office part, which I happily pointed out to my predecessor. But things happen. It's human nature. So once they went through everything, they agreed that how I posted the revenue funds from last year was appropriate. So we whittled a list of 7 items down to 2. The one pertains to the correction on the salary, and that was a non-material, no finding, no repayment needed. And then the second item was a material weakness, deposited $3,100 into a road fund when it should have been motor vehicle So that was truly a fat finger on my part, and it has already been corrected. So those are the highlights from the audit. Hopefully, we will have in the next couple days the final draft, and then at that point, I can distribute to all of you and make it available to anyone who would like to read it. With that, the final item on my list is later in the meeting for your consideration will be a couple different resolutions. The first one will be a resolution for appropriation increase due to fire fund levy finally receiving Chief Miller's reimbursement from his deployment to Louisiana in 2021. And then we received our rates and amounts from the auditor for 2023, and we have to accept those and return it to the auditor to complete that portion of the budget process. So that's pretty much all I have. If anyone has any questions on any of those things, I would be happy to try to answer any questions that I have.
Anybody have any questions? Julie?
Have none.
No.
We'll move on to department reports. We're going to shift a little bit. We're going to go with the police department first. Brian?
First thing I've got is our August statistics. We had 656 calls for service, 10 auto accidents, 26 traffic citations, 23 warnings. We had 4 adult arrests, 1 juvenile arrest. We had 0 breaking and entering calls, 1 burglary. We had 4 drug activity incidents, 2 overdoses, 0 suicides, 1 mental EDP call, 0 TPO violations, 0 sexual or rape assaults, 22 suspicious in our vehicles. We had 0 warrant arrest, 0 shots fired. We had 8 domestic disputes, 0 OVIs, 262 business checks, 28 vacation checks, 61 extra patrols, and 33 incident reports. We would like to recognize Officer Art Brickles. This past Monday night, August 29th, he was recognized at the Cincinnati Red game for his 30-plus years in law enforcement, and he was very appreciative of that. So he didn't know it was coming until a few days earlier when Chief called him. So we'd like to recognize Art Brickles. That's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I apologize, but I have a scheduled situation I have to go to, so.
See ya.
Here.
Forgot that's recorded.
Okay, we'll move on to the administrator, Lori Kyle.
Good evening. Tonight, administration has 3 resolutions for your consideration. The first is nuisance abatement for debris at a property on Thrush Avenue. There's a picture included in your packet. It appears to be indoor furniture that's being stored outside. If you have any questions about that. The second resolution is to amend the MOU with the Ross Local School District for the SRO. Previously, the township has billed once a year at the end of the school year for total cost associated with that program. We would like to revise the agreement to bill them quarterly with net 30 payment terms. And finally, there's a resolution to adopt a cafeteria plan through Colonial Life. By adopting it as a cafeteria plan, not only can employees pay for this through payroll deduction, but it also allows for the premiums to be at pre-tax dollars. If you have any questions about any of those resolutions.
I do not. Anybody?
Have none.
Next in your packet is information regarding the upcoming income survey for the CDBG grant that we're hoping to apply for. It is required now that we conduct this survey because in the past yearly survey, apparently this area of Ross Township is no longer considered low to moderate income. However, we can conduct a survey within the project area. That project area is spelled out with a list of streets. The project will be to pave these particular streets. There's 56 residents on those streets, and we will need to there's 65 residents on those streets. We will need to have 65 completed income surveys to be able to move forward with filling out and submitting the grant. I spoke with the director of Butler County CDBG. She told me that they would be sending out the packets with all of the information, including the survey to be used. She said that we would have it this week. I don't have it yet. So there's also a letter for your review. It was recommended that we send a letter to those residents informing them that we will be conducting the survey, which does need to be done door to door. We can't just mail the survey. So it was recommended that we let them know that when someone knocks on their door, it is a legitimate survey. So if you have any recommendations in regards to the draft of the letter, you could let me know that. And in the meantime, hopefully we'll get the actual survey and can get that scheduled. Do you have any questions about the
So
survey?
the survey that's being passed will come from the county.
Correct.
Okay. And then we go door to door.
Correct.
Okay.
You said 65 houses and we need 65 answers?
We need 56.
56.
Next is a discussion on community aggregation. I was contacted by Tim Abbott, who recently retired from Duke Energy, and he was the government sector representative, very active within Butler County. He has retired from Duke and he now works for a community aggregation advising company. I forwarded his information to you. He did point out quite a few townships near and around us participate in community aggregation. As pointed out, it would be a ballot issue for residents to vote on should the trustees decide to pursue community aggregation. For those of you that don't know what community aggregation is, it has to do with utility and gas pricing that the community can function as a pool and get reduced pricing, but the community has to approve going in that direction. He has offered to come here and speak on this topic if you are interested in gathering more information to consider moving in that direction.
Any comments?
When would he want to come and visit and do that? Present it to the,
He said there's plenty of time at this point. He would recommend targeting the November 2023 election, so there's no rush behind it.
okay, and I believe we're all somewhat already into something like that in the township for many years now. Am I correct? I know they've come to my house. They have their little sales thing in just kind of form and.
Individuals have the option to do that, yes.
What if you're already involved with one of them, which I'm sure many of us already are? Are you, does it, if you go with what he presents in a few months, do we know if you just automatically come out of that, or can you even?
Everyone is eligible to opt out.
Okay.
I don't know if you're already in one, if you are eligible to go in. That's something, I think, yeah, that's
Did you read
that's
that
a
email?
question.
The way I read it is if you did opt out, then you were not able to do it, if I read that correctly. The email that he sent.
I did not take a look at that. I had a conversation with him and I had asked some questions about if you were in this, could you be in that? And the way it was phrased was a no. But I think there's a lot of nuances to the program that we ought to have him come out and take a look and let people ask questions. Tim's been with Duke for, I don't want to put a number on it, a long time. But he's only now made the switch over to this company within the last couple of weeks. So as he probably gets his hands around their information and material, maybe he'll have a good slide deck that answers all these questions for us. And maybe some that people hadn't thought of. But I think the public meeting is a great idea.
Yes.
I'll agree with that. According to Tim Abbott, Duke, the residents here in Ross, there's 1,900 that are Duke. Breck, there's 1,554, according to their reports, residents that have those individual companies. It's an option. It's out there. If people want to go into it, it's their option. If you want to opt out, so be it. Right now, I think it's down to 8.3% on the cost. I think we go for it. I mean, Hanover's in it. He wants to get the village of Millville in it. That way we got Hanover, Millville, us, then Fairfield Township's in it, Liberty, Westchester. So it's not something that's new, but it's something to listen to anyway. I'd be willing to go for that. So Lori, do you want to set something up with him as to when
Okay.
he would be available? Doesn't have to be right away. Anything that works into his schedule would be fine with
Okay.
me.
I will do that.
And let Jerry Hilbert know, because he's a big advocate. Okay, we'll move on.
Next,
Question here?
Want to wait for comments?
No,
Say
we'll
for
do
public
that.
participation.
I got it.
I'm sorry.
We'll do that in public
I
participation.
didn't hear the report that the administrator was giving about a survey on income. Did I hear that right?
That's on something totally different. When we hit public participation, you'll have the chance to talk. Okay, thanks, Mr. Young. Now we'll move on.
next is implementation of Ross Township Zoning Department. As we all know, this is a ballot issue on November 8th. Should it be passed, once the township is notified of certification of the election, which is usually about a 3-week time period, then township-controlled zoning is ours. In preparation for that, at the last meeting, I gave you a proposed timeline to have things as ready as possible should zoning be approved. One of the key elements of that is the formation of a Board of Zoning Appeals. It has been recommended that there be an informational session for residents that might be interested in serving on that board so they could have a better idea of what that means. So I have contacted Wendy Moeller, the consultant that's been helping us through this process, for her availability. Said right now she's very open in October, except for Tuesday, October 18th. So if we wanted to go ahead and get that scheduled, and that is in preparation of putting the information in the fall newsletter, that the deadline for that content is next Friday.
That'd be a good idea. to put it in and see what people want to do and see what the response is, what our replies are and whatever. Would this also include the zoning inspector position?
No, this is just an informational session for the people that might be interested in serving on the zoning appeals board.
Okay, thank you. And make sure it's known that this is only if the zoning goes through, that obviously if it doesn't go through, there's no need to go through, all the steps as outlined.
Correct. I have a draft of the notice that would be included in the newsletter and sent to the Cornerstone.
Everybody okay with that draft? That was passed out. Okay, then go with that, Lori.
Okay, so it's up to me to pick the date, or did the board want to pick the date?
Whenever she's available.
Okay.
I mean,
As long as it doesn't conflict with like school board or historical society, or
Okay.
that would be. I don't want it tied to one of these meetings, or do you want it, does it matter to you one way or the other?
yeah.
Okay. And as I mentioned, I am working on gathering content for the fall newsletter. I have requested any submissions to me by September 9th.
Okay, thank you.
An update on the posting of the meeting videos. We have had 3 meetings that we have recorded. We do have 2 successful recordings, and those have been posted on our website. The second recording, we experienced learning curve issue, and unfortunately, we don't have that recording. And finally, before you is the nuisances update.
Anybody have any questions on the nuisance update? Okay, we'll move on with the fire department. Steve Miller.
Thank you, Ellen. For the month of August, the department responded to 126 runs. 89 of those were EMS related. 77 were in the Ross Township, 9 in the village of Millville. Mutual aid runs into Hamilton once, 1 in the Crosby Township, 1 in the St. Clair. Did 37 fire runs, 30 in Ross Township, 2 in the village. 3 structure fires in the city of Hamilton, 1 in St. Clair and 1 in Hanover. We received mutual aid last month, 1 from Hamilton on a large open burn on the northern end of the township, 1 from Hanover Township on a multi-vehicle accident in the village of Millville, twice from Coleraine on MVAs, and twice from Morgan Township on MVAs. So we had a lot of car wrecks with multiple victims last month. It's been a busy month for us. Next on your agenda, there's been an application approved for a fireworks display on September 4th at 2234 Burger Court. This application's been approved by myself and by Chief Roberts. This gentleman that puts the display on, not to give him any kudos, but I will give him kudos, is probably just as good as you see down on the river. He spends a lot of money on these fireworks. But he meets all the criteria for the State of Ohio Fire Marshal's Office. He's licensed, he's insured, and everything is kosher. So if you're up in the Blackstone area, I would highly recommend it. Yeah. The other really concern, and I talked with Scott, the only thing that really concerns me is the parking, and they're going to try to control the parking up there. And I told him as long as they give us 20 feet to get in and out, it'll work. So he's going to do his diligence to make that happen, but that'll be September the 4th. We've also set a meeting with the Butler County EMA to discuss Butler County's emergency operations plan and where and how that fits into the draft plan that we wrote for Ross Township. That is scheduled for Thursday, September 15th at 4:30. I figured we would make it a little bit, about an hour and a half before the regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting, so the board can attend that. That's all I have for you.
Okay. Road, Paul Bulak.
Thanks, Ellen. I want to give you an update on this year's paving. Today and yesterday, they milled all of our streets that are getting paved, Rabina, Hickory Hollow and Fox Run and Brown Farm. So now they'll go back and inspect it to see if there's any more further repair needed, and then it'll be on the list for paving, which I can't tell you when that'll be. It seems to be 2 or 3 weeks out with what they're running. That's all on this year's. I need to bring up funding for next year's paving. A few months back, you guys remember committing our ARPA money to pave Morgan Ross and Smith Road. At the time, we had the estimate from the county at a little over $800,000. And that's what you agreed to commit. Well, we also talked about if the county commissioners give us some money for paving, we'd back off that number. Fortunately, they did give us, they're going to give us $273,000. But they also gave us an updated figure on what it'll cost to pave those roads, and that is $181,000 per mile. And those two roads total 6.1 miles, which comes up to $1,104,000 now. So we basically need both our ARPA money and theirs in order to cover these projects.
Any discussion on that? We're going to leave the money there, get the roads done, and call it a day? Or any suggestions?
I'm not sure prices are going down anytime soon from what we've seen. And I think the need is still there. And it's rare that we get a lump sum like this. So I'm in favor of taking all the ARPA plus the county and putting it towards the roads so we can check the box in that area and call that done for many years. But is that project like are we going like a full depth reclamation or?
That covers any repair work that needs done and the striping and everything for a 20-foot wide roadway. Now, in a subdivision, it'll be a little more because they're a little wider. They're 22, 23 feet, but both of those roads are right at the 20 feet. So it's a good number, accurate number, I should say.
Not a good number.
You're right. Just a few years ago, to give you how much it's went up, it was about 130,000. So it's $50,000 a mile or better. It has went up over the last 2-3 years. And they're going out for bid earlier to try and get a better price, but they're using this year's price to give us that estimate. That's what everybody's paying this year, the 181.
Any thoughts?
I'm in agreement.
Okay, leave it as it is, take it all. All right, we'll move on now to public participation. First speaker is Russ McGurran.
Russ McGurran, 3958 Public Court. I'm going to read a few statements that I've run across. The word on the street is Ronnie Watson is making fun of me for paying too much for the land. If you were to sell cheap to them, they would develop cheap residential homes and no commercial. Used to be a rumor sprinkled with a lie. I'll tell you said it in a minute. I'm sure the people in Ross Trails are not happy about that. The present sewer plant has enough capacity to handle low amounts of units. The same goes for the current water system. That's referring to Burns Farm. I talked to the Butler County Water Department today and the sewer department. And they said that the only reason that any type of infrastructure needs to be built there, over and above a normal residential development there, is because of the amount of units they want to put there and the commercial that they want to put there. Dustin at the water department told me right now there's plenty of water pressure to feed that whole development. No need for it, except for the type of development that he wants there now. Without new revenues, our plan will provide, it is very possible for the state of Ohio to take over the finances of the Ross school system. Sounds like a threat. Our plan is to gift approximately 7 acres to the school for a new grade school on Herman Road. I talked to Chad Conkle. That's news to both of them. The 3 commissioners voted the NCA down. Without the NCA, we don't have an avenue for the TIF, and then we don't have money to make the improvements. Provide land at the highest elevation in Burns Farm for a new water storage tank. Anybody know about that? I think so. Without the TIF and the TIF NCA, the project is not financially feasible to make all the improvements that are needed. Since the NCA was turned down by the Butler County Commissioners, get the law changed to allow township trustees to set up its own NCA. But that will take time. The township is currently working on that. In other words, we don't like the results, so we're going to change the law. Those are minutes from Bob Bass, former Ross Township Development Director, and Nancy Burns. They came from a public records request that I got. If there's anybody in here that knows any or most of that information, I'd like to talk to you. I've done a lot of digging and I don't know any of that. Those are his notes. More in Bob Bass's file. Ross Township Public Financing Plan. Know such a thing? One person I want to give kudos to is Keith. In an email in 2019, from Keith to, I believe it was Bob Bass, I'm not on board with any type of hotel. Thank you. This is an email from Ron Kaufman to Bob Bass. It's extremely important that John, I don't know who John is, it's somebody with Nancy, it might be your attorney, gives us permission for Nancy to sign the jet agreement on the lots or the entire deal goes down. Another letter here from a resident sent his information to Butler County Commissioners. He didn't want to be named. He told me why, and it made sense. In his email, it says many times he has gone bankrupt and not completed a project and has provided false promises to communities in the Dayton area, such as Springville and West Milton. I've given you 20 million reasons about that. You've already heard those. This is a letter from Ron Kaufman to Bob Bass. In it, he says, and he's referring to the Butler County Commissioners. They don't care about the Ross school system. I'm sure Don and TC and Cindy would like to know that. Ron Kaufman, the things that I've said, I've tried to keep factual. I've tried to pack it up with paperwork, and I've shared most of it with all of you. He sent earlier this year, this is an email from Ron Kaufman to Andrew Brossart, who's part of the development. In a category called other damages, 4 times he refers to me and says, if Russ is so smart, if Russ is so smart, if Russ is so smart, if Russ is so smart. That's very condescending. And then at the end, he says, for Mr. Russ to explain. I don't like being called Mr. Russ. That's very condescending. I don't care who you are. You can talk to me respectfully. The houses that he's got listed to be over there. On the high end, the state home, $690,000 to $1 million. family style homes, 495, 650s with an average of 585. Just to do a little calculation, I tried to figure out how much money an average household might have to make for houses like that. And I thought, well, 160,000 is probably a good place to start. At a 0.0125 earned income tax rate, which is what we pay in the schools, that's about $2,000 per household for the schools. At 250 homes, that's $500,000. At 500 homes, that's $1 million. That'll help a lot to the schools. And that's a residential development. But I think that shows that there is plenty of money to be made there without changing the entire landscape. I said it publicly, I said it in writing. I'm not against the development over there. I'm against his development. I'm against him developing. I'll make that clear. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Pardon?
You want to hand me that one, Liz?
Martha Mel?
My name is Martha Mel, and I live at 2085 Demerit Lane. Good evening, township leaders and fellow residents. I have a few comments I'd like to make concerning township zoning. First and foremost, we need township zoning in Ross. So vote yes on November 8th. Over the past few months, I have heard comments about how the zoning resolution, that's the document that the zoning commission wrote, as part of some conspiracy theory between a developer for the Burns property and the township trustees. I am here tonight to say that is bunk. The zoning resolution was created following the Ohio Revised Code 519. I know this because I was on the team that collected the required number of signatures, and I spent a great deal of time getting myself educated about the code. Under 519.02, a zoning resolution can be initiated either by the township trustees, which they did not, but certainly had the opportunity to do so, or by private citizens who collect signatures of no less than 8% of the registered voters in the unincorporated area of the township determined at the last general election for a governor, which for us was 2016. Back in the summer of 2020, the team, using an approved form from the Board of Elections, collected the signatures. We needed 293 signatures. We added a margin, collected 373, with 339 being certified by the Board of Elections. From there, the trustees were notified to proceed with forming a zoning commission, all under the Ohio Revised Code requirements. Next, the zoning commission was formed, and they wrote the document that we see today. As outlined in Ohio Revised Code 519 was followed. No conspiracy took place. It was grassroots effort by raw citizens following the code. From there, the trustees, using a standard set of questions, interviewed residents who were interested in serving on the zoning commission as a voluntary basis only. Any Ross Township resident could have applied. This is not a conspiracy. It is the code and must be followed. I personally know 3 of the 7 members of the zoning commission. They are, in my opinion, fair and upstanding citizens, and they all spent much time working with Wendy Moeller from Compass Point planning to complete the zoning resolution in a timely manner. In addition, from my perspective, the zoning commission seemed to be made up of folks that wanted zoning and those that did not. I think this allowed for each member of the zoning commission to listen to both sides and then consent, thus creating a balanced zoning resolution document. Next, at a township meeting held here on June 16th, the trustees signed a resolution that put the zoning resolution on the ballot for November 8th. Their signatures did not mean that they were for or against the zoning resolution. All it did was put the zoning resolution on the ballot for the people, us, to decide. And this was all a requirement of Ohio Revised Code, not a conspiracy. As far as cost, it's my opinion that we can't afford not to have our own zoning resolution. 6 out of 12 Butler County townships have theirs, so it's not a new idea. Most items in life that are worthwhile cost money. And for me, the zoning resolution is a good investment. In closing, I would like to say that owners have a right to sell their property. Ask yourself, do you want future developers to request a zoning change from the county like they currently do right now? Or do you want them to come to this building to meet with our zoning commission people using our zoning resolution that contains our visions, our requirements, and our dreams? For me, I want people I know to listen to my request, people who are my neighbors, people who I meet my daily activities around here. I know these people and I feel like I can talk to them and they will hear me out. So vote yes on November 8th for township zoning, and ensure that all developers coming forward will have to live up to our zoning resolution. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you. Lynn Walraven.
I need to speak for this now home.
If you would.
I'm Lynn Walraven, 3986 Jennifer Drive. Most of you know that I'm no stranger to responding to disasters. But Tuesday night, August 23rd, about midnight, I had a disaster of my own. The main line in my finished basement with carpets and such ruptured ahead of the shut-off valve. So it was not possible to shut it off from the inside. If any of you have ever had that opportunity, finding a plumber at midnight is next to impossible. The ones that I called use an answering service to take information and pass it on, and you may or may not get called back. But all else fails, and probably where I should have started was with a local fire and police department. Started there with, I finally got to there with the 911 call, hoping I might find an emergency number for the water company, or that the dispatcher might know how to get it shut down. She said, "Yeah, I know an emergency number. It's called 911, which you just got." The dispatch number of the fire and the police departments in Ross. So in just a few minutes, they both showed up. So I'm here tonight to thank them as permitted by the trustees, to thank the fire department and the police department for rescuing me from my disaster. It's still an ongoing one. If you have ever had a flooded basement, you can appreciate how much wet carpet weighs and stings and has to be dealt with. So with that, I won't make an extended speech other than just to say thanks to all of you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that I was involved.
Mr. Young?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said before, I didn't put in my hearing aid, so I apologize for that. And her voice was a little on the soft side. Anyway, I live at 3230 Hamilton Mississippi Road. Been a resident here since '77. She had a question. She was giving a report about a survey on incomes is what she was giving out, I thought I heard.
It's a survey to put an area of the road that we want to apply for grant money, but it has to be in low income area. And
Low income area. Okay, it's what Hanover had for years up there because of that nursing home, which gave them a lot of grants.
correct.
Okay, I thought it was for income of
Oh,
high, not low.
no, it's lower.
My mistake. I apologize.
And at one point it was, but then for some reason, I don't think anything changed. This last year around, it didn't qualify. So we were going through the process to see if we can't get some grant money to do the roads back in there.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah, that's good. Can I make a comment on her report that she gave?
Quickly, 3 minutes.
November the 8th, we're going to be voting on zoning. As I was a trustee, a lot of times the county would have things going way too far along by the time we find out, and we couldn't stop it. I understand the idea of having township zoning. It's a good thing. Will the board be appointed by the trustees or elected by the people of Ross Township?
Board is appointed by the trustees.
That's my problem. Because you're not listening to the public as it is about this development here. You don't want to hear anything about the guy going broke and all this other kind of stuff. You're just totally ignoring it. And you just want to keep on going with your headstrong ideas that this is going to be good for Ross, and it's not. Especially having a motel right across the street from a grade school.
None of that has been determined. That's
So anyway,
hearsay from residents.
In other words, there'll be pocketed people and they'll be able to get exactly what you guys want because you have your selected people in board to make the zoning rules. I realize there's zoning rules they have to follow, but if it's something you really want, it's called pressure. And it's
Okay, thank you, Mr. Young.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Dana, did you want to talk?
Sure. So Dana Mill, I'm at 2085 Demerit Lane, Ross citizen, many years. I just wanted to add for the record my comments pertaining to what occurred as what Martha said, as far as following the process, as far as doing the whole thing centered around our building, our resolution. So I was on that committee, and here are some facts. I went out and I got 8 pages worth of signatures. Each page is worth 20 signatures. I got 160 signatures of people that seem very willing to go ahead and entrust our own potential future zoning committee versus stand with Butler County. I only talked to 162. 2 of them turned me down, and they gave reasons why. For the 160 that did vote for that or say yes on that petition, some of the comments were as follows, and I won't go into all of them, but there were a variety of folks that were very upset and very livid over variances that the Butler County zoning had given pertaining to looking in their backyards, and there were these oversized garages / pole barns, whatever you want to call them. A couple of them took me back and showed me, look at that. So they're not pleased. I had a couple talk about the Family Dollar building down there. They thought that was an eyesore because it's a metal building. Then I had those that were really very upset as far as the aesthetics, as far as our Ross community, because there was a certain business on Route 27 adjacent to across the road from Big Bulls that was considered a very aesthetic eyesore to our community. And from what I heard, I don't know if this is fact or not, from what I heard, that our own trustees fought to get that removed. And from what I heard, again, I don't know if it's true, or not, because I wasn't a part of that meeting, is that Butler County basically said, live with it. So to me, from talking to those people to the 90 percentile of the folks, that's a small representation of our community, they were willing to take a chance on pursuing this whole process of having our own zoning commission here in Ross. Talking about Nancy Strauss's farm for 350 acres. To me, it boils down to a couple things. That is Nancy's property. I see things, I hear things that people talk about like it's their property. Sometimes I think it's mine too, because I see it every day. So, but it's her property. She has the right to sell that property. Can she sell it to Drees Home and Ryan Homes? I think she can. Does she have the right to? Most certainly, yes. I know the Burns family. I went to church with Nancy's mother for years, a very nice, loving, concerning people. And this is just my opinion. The person that Fran was, I think, was instilled into Nancy. I think Nancy wants to leave a legacy of something that's going to be good for our community. So can she sell it to Ryan Home and Drees? Yeah, but I think she'd rather go with a custom builder, not a box builder. So I don't know who that's going to be, whether it's going to be Ron Kaufman or not, but I would rather go with somebody like that than, going down New Haven Road and going to Harrison and seeing what Ryan Holmes did in there. And if you don't think that can happen here, then I think you're gravely mistaken. So I don't want to see it because I live right across the street from it. And Hamilton County has proven their true colors, because you can go down there and look at it. So I do not want to see that in the future. Hence, what my wife said, I would rather have the control of our own zoning commission here in Ross than trusting Butler County, because in many ways they've shown their true colors as far as what they've done, as far as the variances and what they're going to do. So again, I have to concur with my wife. We need to vote yes on November the 8th and have a commission here in Ross. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hey, you want to talk?
Diane Cervella, 1823 Wagon Wheel Drive. For one, I want to address the issue in regards to the Burns Farm. Nobody is saying you can't sell your property. We just don't want to fund it. The people don't want to fund that. I mean, and I'm not on social media. I just know what I hear and what people tell me. We don't want to fund it. And we don't want to be lied to. And we know we're being lied to. We know we're being lied to because we don't have the public records request and we have the line. So about the hotel, it's in the paperwork right here. And it's also that nobody made mention the night that we were down at the school, because if you all don't know, I was an alternate on the zoning commission. Okay, facts speak for themselves. Do your own public records request, start reading it. Okay, I was totally for it. I was totally for our own zoning until I realized that the people that were going to be put on that zoning commission were going to be run by the trustees. And we all know that that goes on. Just by we kept saying nothing was going on with Bob Bass. There's nothing going on behind the scenes when you guys even had the name of the property done. So you lied. Where is the integrity? And I'm looking at you two because Jennifer wasn't there yet, but I'm sure she knows what's going on because she's got a JD behind her name. But my thing is I want to contact everybody and tell them integrity matters. Truth matters. All they want is the truth. And what we found out by public records documents speak for themselves. Court documents, knowing that the person that you're looking at to develop has left that place in a $20 million deficit. I'm not saying take it or leave it. I'm just saying we don't want to fund it. So I just want to, I wasn't planning on speaking, but integrity does matter. We're tired of the lies. 186 apartment buildings will be built there. That's a fact. It's in the public documents. And the hotel. And here it is if anybody wants to see it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
You can give it back to its name next.
Patrick West, 3917 Buxton Court. A few things. On the Tim Abbott aggregate, I definitely think that something should come before the group of the people here. I do see advantages. Like Keith mentioned, we all can opt into that, but the group of an aggregate can really save us some additional money, especially as prices are continuing to go up. So I definitely recommend that. For the Ross Township zoning, I think it can be a good thing, but I would like to echo what the gentleman said about who chooses those positions. It's something you have to be very careful about. Also, I know there was discussion about Ross Trails, Paul. All good for curbing, but there was an initiative that was started for the curbs being replaced in Ross Trails. They're really in kind of in bad shape, and they started working up that way. And I think we ran out of funding. Any information that you can share on that?
It's very expensive to replace the whole curbs, and we've been trying to find a better solution. When you have a spot that's bad this much, you don't replace 10 feet of it, and contractors don't want to come out and do a spot that big. So we talked with Butler County, and we've got some material that we just started last week. We passed a few on Brown Farm. So I'm waiting on the pavement to get done, and then we're going to go through and try this material and hope it takes care of those little spots. So we're in the process, but we got to wait for the paving to get done or they'll just break it all.
Right. The recommendation is that we just continue that throughout because
it's a lot of money that we can't, but we don't have.
Continue doing pieces at a time, it would help.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of shoddy work when it was originally done. That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. And no old business, new business, social media discussion. I don't have a clue.
During the last meeting, we talked about, disseminating information.
I'm sorry.
Trustee Patterson wanted to have a discussion about if the township should utilize social media.
So I'm not a fan of social media. We're not on it. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I look at people who want to be on it and it kills a couple minutes here and there, but nothing of my stuff is out there. So I'm a little hit or miss on it, but I can also understand that for a lot of people, this is how they get their information and how they want to get their information. And so thinking about the transparency, thinking about connecting with people, thinking about communicating the way they want to be communicated with, I think it's worth a conversation to see what you guys think about social media. And I'm not saying we post TikTok videos of departments or anything, like that. Just should there be a Twitter account? Should there be, my 2 cents would be Twitter is probably the most professional level. There are some demographics that typically like to have Facebook. So Facebook trends older, Twitter trends younger, Instagram trends younger than that, like typically is my understanding. Again, just food for thought and open for discussion. And I think it would help if we wanted to do that, to have a policy. I don't think it gets rid of the newsletter. I don't think it gets rid of the ability to walk in and have phone calls and conversations and emails. I think it's an extra layer on that. But again, not pushing for it. I just want to have that discussion about if we think that's a value to people. And if we think that's a reasonable way to communicate.
I share Facebook with my wife. I'm not on any other social media, so it doesn't really appeal to me, no.
I think things get misconstrued. I'm not a big fan of social media. I kind of look at it as to see what other people are saying and what have you. I'm too old for it. Bottom line, I can't switch from this one to that one. So there you have it. But if you all want it or whatever, that's fine with me. I don't care. But I wouldn't be interested in it personally myself. That's where I am. But we can talk about it later down the road. I mean, I know obviously it's not up and coming. Heck, it's been here for, what, 10, 15 years probably. I'm just not on board with it, and I don't care to be. But maybe that's what the next trustee will do. Okay? We'll move on to the announcements. Butler County Commissioner is currently seeking Butler County residents to serve on the County Planning Commission. The appointment is for a voluntary 3-year term. Interested candidates must reside in Butler County and must be able to attend meetings on the second Tuesday of each month at 3 p.m. in Hamilton. County residents who are looking for an opportunity to serve their community as part of the Planning Commission should send a letter of interest, including a brief biography or resume, to Akoff, Planning Administrator, 130 High Street, Hamilton, Ohio. Questions should be directed to the Butler County Department of Development at 513-887-3411 or zeb.acuff@butlercountyohio.us. Anything from the board?
I'm nothing.
Correspondence. The OTARMA nominating committee is currently seeking nominees for the upcoming Board of Directors election. 2 board seats for 4-year terms each are open to OTARMA meeting members, township fiscal officers, trustees, and administrators. Quarterly board meetings are typically held on a Thursday and Friday with an overnight stay. Expenses are paid by OTARMA, the terms being on February 1, 2023. Interested candidates need to send an email to the OTARMA Service Center at wfrench@bfgroup.com stating your interest in requesting the electronic version of the autobiography template. Deadline to submit autobiography in required template form, professional photo, and nomination letter on township letterhead signed by the Board of Trustees is October 14th, 2022. Any correspondence from the board?
No.
None.
Resolution. Earlier in the meeting, the administrator provided evidence of a nuisance violations to exist at a property on Fresh Avenue. This resolution declares that property to be a nuisance and orders its abatement. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2022-050, declaring a nuisance for debris at 2045 Thrush Avenue. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. During a previous meeting, the board discussed the need to amend the SRO agreement with Ross Local School District. This resolution amends that agreement. I'd like to move for the adoption of resolution number 2022-051, amending the agreement with the Ross Local School District, outlining the work, tenants, and job description for a full-time police officer, school resource officer within the police department. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. In order to financially allow for the reimbursement for Chief Miller's deployment via EMAC to Louisiana in 2021. Funds must be added to the fire department's 2022 financial budget. This resolution adds those funds. I'd like to move for the adoption of resolution number 2022-052, amending revenue in a fund and requesting an amended certificate of estimated resources from the Butler County Auditor. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. At resolution number 2022-036, Board of Trustees adopted a tax budget for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2023. The Budget Commission then certified the rate of each tax necessary to be levied by the board without and within the 10 mil tax limitation. The following resolution accepts the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission. I'd like to move for the adoption of resolution number 2022-053, accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. Earlier in the meeting, the township administrator discussed the desire to continue to offer a flexible benefits cafeteria plan through Colonial Life. The following resolution implements that plan for September 1, 2022 through August 31st, 2023. I'd like to move for the adoption of resolution number 2022-054, implementing the Ross Township Flexible Benefits Cafeteria Plan through Colonial Life for September 1, 2022 through August 31, 2023. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes, I'd like to move for the adoption of motion 22-144 to pay the bills as presented through the fiscal officer's certification of purchase orders. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. I'd like to move for the adoption of motion 22-145 to retire to executive session to discuss the employment, promotion, or compensation of a public employee in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1. The time is it's about 7:08. Need a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. That concludes this meeting per se. Next meeting is September 15th at 6 p.m. Thank you for all coming.
It's just what my comments were. I always comment you guys.
Thank you.
I did not
I put my paper away. Do you have yours out? That's all right. We'll recall the matter, meeting back into order. It's now 7:55. I need a second.
Second,
Roll call, please.
trustee Patterson? Yes. Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes. There being no further business to come before the board, I'd like to adjourn. Second? Need a second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson? Yes. Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Yordi?
Yes, thank you.